Zoomlion operations. In Ghana, the government has outsourced most of the waste management duties to the private sector, which collectively operate under the name Environmental Services Providers Association, ESPA. Zoomlion is part of the group, and it is giving attention to the subject with a professional touch in what is defined as integrated waste management cycle. Zoomlion employs no less than 200,000 people, all of whom are engaged in one of the several jobs in the rather coherent track of waste management from start to finish. A huge fleet of truck and tractor rigs, each of them hauling 20 tons of garbage, shuttles between collection points and landfills. The integrated cycle is an elaborate process spanning collection, haulage, disposal, recycling or release to landfill. There are no loose ends in the production line. This ensures that the waste so collected is not left to chance to induce a boomerang effect or defeat the purpose of collection. The company mops up corporate waste, emergency waste, event-related waste and door-to-door waste collection. Cynthia Gbadago and Joseph Boabin are Zoomlion staff in the Eastern region.
We do door-to-door refuse collection, we do janitorial cleaning, we do septic services, we do mobile cabin and other communal refuse collection from organizations.
Zoomlion, effectiveness.
Our job is cut for us. We clear refuse, we clean public places, we green landscapes. Their outlines reinforces Zoomlion's operational templates. The company steps in the vacuum left by a waning sense of patriotism in people. Zoomlion has a plan for recycling plastics and polythenes. The two are not biodegradable and are the thorniest. Zoomlion is pressing hard for the public to embrace the idea of separating waste according to suggested types before material is placed in dustbins or collected. Zoomlion has established the waste bin and bin liners production plant for distribution to households, communities, organizations and local authorities. Waste bins produced by Zoomlion are supplied to metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies for relay. One of two companies undertaking plastic recycling, Yeco, has a plant with capacity to produce 800 bins per day. This comes under the sanitation improvement projects in which Zoomlion provides logistical support such as waste trucks and commercial containers to more than 200 local area authorities across the country. In a complex city as Accra, Zoomlion has set up waste transfer stations for the uptake of collected waste midstream before final disposal. 1,300 tons of garbage are pushed to the stations per day. The stations at Teshi and Achimota are some suburbs serving areas zoned for waste collection in the Ghanaian capital. This stage is designed to reduce the shuttling time for haulage trucks. Here, the trucks offload into a bay before the garbage is reloaded in the long van called compacting trailer. Contents of 8 fully loaded trucks can be loaded onto one compactor trailer. The trailer then sends the waste to the landfill. 8 trucks crystallized into one trailer definitely relieves the roads of pressure and traffic congestion. The company has its own axle load bridges to check haulage trucks against approved weights. Each truck is tagged to ensure that they are in records for monitoring. These measures fit the scope of the Chief Executive of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Mr. Mohammed J. Soa.
What we are trying to do, is, which a private service provider have started, it's to have a transfer station within the central business district. So all the refuse that are generated are deposited at the transfer station. And the transfer station is basically you have huge trucks and then you climb a hard hill and you go and dislodge it right into the truck. And then the truck will then send it. So that huge truck can take about 7 to 8 of the trucks in Accra. In other words, you are cutting the travel time, the distance, so that they can go fast and come back.
Zoomlion supply trucks to the various assemblies under an agreement, and its own fleet is good. Managing Director of Zoom Parks, where the transfer stations are located, is Mr. Yüksel Ünal, a tech national whose company back home in Turkey, Cempak, fabricated the trucks and other equipment used at Zoom Parks. Up to this stage, the running footage had centered on Teshin transfer station. Part ways and moved to the Achimota transfer station, where Mr. Ünal grants an interview through an interpreter.
Tarafan istasyonu Gana'da yeni oturmaya başlayan fakat Avrupa'da dünyanın birçok gelişmiş ülkesinde organizasyon olarak devam eden şehir içinde.
One thing that the MD is saying is because this is a very important aspect that the government of Ghana should be looking at is that actually most of our people don't know how to treat their waste. And God willing, this facility has come down to Ghana, and then they are educating people on how to handle such waste, because most of the hospitals that we visited, or they visited per what the MD is saying, they don't handle the waste very well.
Waste that are not sent to the landfill are earmarked for treatment. Welcome to Sewerage Systems Ghana Limited, SSGL, also a member of the Jospon Group of companies, of which Zoomlion is the premier. Under SSGL are Lavender Hill Fecal Treatment Plant near the Kole Lagoon in Accra and the Ajen Kotoku Fecal Treatment Plant. The company has also rehabilitated the Mudor Sewage Treatment Plant at Jamestown in Accra. The three plants provide environmentally friendly treatment of effluent and fecal sludge. Mrs. Lola Ashite Asise is a communications and business development manager of SSGL.
We have the capacity to design, build and operate similar plants anywhere here in Ghana and beyond. So we're looking forward to doing business with all the MMDAs in Ghana. People would usually not ask where their fecal waste that is taken from their homes is sent to. It is around you. Until you have a similar plant in your vicinity, you can contract diseases from improper disposal of liquid waste.
Company's general manager, engineer Mrs. Florence Cobbold, says the plants generate compost, electricity from biogas, among other things. Waste to money, she calls it.
At the lavender fecal treatment plants, what we do is we receive the fecal matter from the cesspit tracks, and then we treat. And we have various forms of treatment processes. We first have the screen, where we screen the fecal matter that comes in. And for your information, the fecal matter here in Accra is full of things that you won't expect to be in the fecal matter. So we screen them, we get rid of all the debris, the rubbers, the plastics and all that. And then another challenge we are having also is sand. It comes with a lot of sand. I mean, as a nation, we need to move ahead. So I think it is the right time that we have this plant in place. We need to treat our waste. And for information, we are getting some byproducts.
Managing Director Mr. Haidar Said says the volume of liquid waste Accra generates is approximately 26,000 cubic meters. The treatment plant process between 21 and 22,000 cubic meters, indicating its share of 80% treatment has come to save Accra from using the sea as tipping point. 200 to 240 tons of raw human excreta previously dumped in the sea is now treated.
However, it doesn't mean that if we receive more than 250, we have to send them back. The capacity of the plant, or the plant, is built in such a way that it can accommodate the usage of 3 consecutive days as storage capacity. So we can receive even 500 trucks in a single day, and we can still take that quantity, store it and process it for treatment. All the sewage infrastructure, the pipes coming from various districts, from Osu, Labone, Cantonment, Parliament House, all this comes from the Korlebu area, comes with underground network to be treated at the Mudor plant. Part of the process in the plant is the liquid to solid separation, which happens at the first stage, and then eventually the solid is further dried, and it had to be properly managed as a solid by a solid waste management company. This is where Zoomlion comes as a company.
It will take some time for the label Lavender Hill to go away, but then the stench that filled the atmosphere has fizzled out.
You know what, I attended St. Mary's Secondary School just across the road here. I don't know if you know St. Mary's, in the 80s. And our dormitories are just close by the lagoon when they were dumping into the sea without treatment. And when we come for siesta, that's when the thing is all over the place. So in fact, when I had done engineering, I had done sanitary engineering, and I heard about this project, I really wanted to be a part, so that this stench, and I believe you can see that this stench is now a thing of the past.
The facility has a well-stocked laboratory for quality control.
Here what we do is we check the quality analysis of the sewage. For the plant to be able to function very well, it depends on the quality parameters that we check here in the lab.
The medical waste treatment facility at Teshin, Accra, managed by Zoom Park, the well-trained staff of the company moves to medical facilities to engage health professionals on how they want medical waste to be disposed before collection. Preferably, the company wants medical items on the waste list to be separated at collection points. The medical waste truck has a refrigerated cooling system that puts any organism in the contents in a dormant state. The waste is then transferred into cold store at the plant. At this stage, it is presumed that dangerous organisms in medical waste are only in a state of inactivity and cannot be taken for granted. To be sure the organisms are dead, the medical waste is put in an autoclave to sterilize it. This exerts temperature and pressure steam to a maximum of 160 centigrades. No organism survives this temperature. A shredder is applied to reduce the volume of the medical waste before they are sent to landfills. Medical waste have their own landfills. For the avoidance of gas emissions, medical waste are not incinerated.
We separated which is the pathological waste, human parts, and which is the infectious like needles, the razor, cottons, which is the blood contaminated things. And we have also sharp box. And after the separation in the units, the separation, our vehicle, we have the specialized collection truck. And with this one, our educated, our trained staff goes to hospital and collect the waste. And after the collection, we take all the waste to our facility here.
The practices meet standards of World Health Organization (WHO) and the International Standards Organization (ISO). Hospitals and medical facilities in Ghana are no less than 375. Only 40 have agreement with the medical treatment plant for collection of their residue. As this is the only such plant in Ghana, the inference here is that a great deal of hazardous medical waste stray into the open. In countries where the Ebola disease broke out, improper medical waste disposal was cited as the cause of the epidemic. Managers of Zoom Park say, without the law or technical detail on existing statutes, many hospitals will evade the important requirement that commits medical waste to treatment under a controlled environment. Zoil Services Limited, located at Nyanokrom 2nd D in the Western Region, was established in 2011 in response to Ghana's newly found treasures, oil and gas. It is treating petroleum waste left by routine operations of the several oil companies concentrated near exploratory activities in the Western Region. The anaerobic thermal desorption unit, ATDU, is the deck of the petroleum and mine waste plant. It treats the oily hydrocarbon matrix or the mud sludge. The oil sump is the receptacle for oil waste just received at the plant. One is built of concrete and the other has a specialized rubber lining. This is designed to absorb increasing volumes of material deposited at the plant. The 5-ton capacity petroleum and mining plant treats spills at harbors, discarded oil, plastic containers which held oil as contents, polluted beaches, contaminated soil, and other toxic residue of mineral exploration. In the case of contaminated soil, Zoil Services Limited excavates the soil to the depths to remove or uproot the contamination. The plastic shredder machine smashes items to prevent residual toxic material in gallons from circulating in the public or for domestic uses. There is a mechanism by which oil is separated from water and sand. In the case of sand, it is recycled for use as blocks for construction. The oil is added to diesel to fire plants' burners. Incinerator destroys unwanted waste under tight controls to avoid emission of toxic gases into the atmosphere. The vapor recovery unit allows processed gas to condense, out of which poisonous gases can be captured and properly disposed. Any item not needed is sent to landfill. A mechanical engineer, Mr. Herbert Tete, is the maintenance supervisor at the plant.
We are talking of tanker bottoms, we are talking of oily slopes, we are talking of drilling mud from offshore, and we are talking of environments where there is need for remediation of soils. So these materials are all brought here, and what the plant does is that it is able to take out the oil contents from this hydrocarbon matrix I have talked about to a very low percentage, which is 0.5%, which is very good. I mean, in terms of even the international standards for removal of oil from material before disposal.
The Managing Director of Zoil Services Limited, Dr. Kenneth Asamoah-Boateng, also an engineer, says the plant, which currently processes 1 or 2 tons of waste per day, adheres to universally accepted standards and supervised by local regulators as the Environmental Protection Agency EPA.
Mining waste accounts for, I would say, probably only about 5%. Most of the waste we get is from the oil and gas industry. We probably have not talked about contaminated water. There's a lot of contaminated water that come to us, and we take it through processing and basically remove the contamination, remove the oil, if there's any chemicals, suspended particles, and so on. And then we discharge based on standards that the EPA has set for discharge. So there's a criteria for discharge, and that has to be met before we can dispose of any treated material. Also able to handle spills, oil spills. So for example, if there's a spill on land, we're able to excavate. You excavate, and then basically we have a contaminated soil. We have contaminated soil that can be transported to a facility and then processed in our anaerobic thermal desorption plant. Spill on water, this depends on the extent. We have equipment that is able to handle oil spills, but we're talking about spills at beaches, spills at harbors, and so on.
Zoomlion collaborates with the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. It is to mount e-waste storage and processing units in each region of Ghana. The owners of Ghana's largest waste management chain, Zoomlion, deployed 60 staff for training in Germany, Hungary, South Africa, China, India, Netherlands, Brazil, and the US. Also, the company fully participated in EPA training sessions on e-waste, thrice in 2016 and a fourth in February 2017.
This experience I had in Israel when I was taking for a training there by my company Zoomlion. It was about environmental management, and Israel as a country initially went into source separation, where households are supposed to separate their refuse, the organic from the inorganic. And the experience they had was that they realized that was too expensive for them to undertake, because you have to provide different containers to households, collect the refuse on different days with different trucks and all that. So they saw that to be too expensive. So currently they have resorted to rather separating the refuse at the dump site.
Agbogbloshie in Ghana, named by the United Nations Environmental Programme as one of the world's most polluted sites, is home for 200,000 tons of e-waste with 100,000 people involved in the scrap business. Mohammed is one of them. On this occasion, he had come to offices of Zoomlion in Accra to consult on how to manage his business.
I will do right applications just to request for scraps. So when we through application or through the boys that we are sending rounds, if they could, and if they are able to get like fridges, computer, laptops, and they bring it down to the scrap yard. So when they brought down to the scrap yard, what we were doing them at the first was, we were dismantling them. So when we dismantle them, there are some certain items that we normally take out of the, something like aluminum, copper. So when we take the aluminum and the copper and the iron, we put the iron aside. And the fridges, there's aluminum and the copper too, and then iron. So when we take the aluminum and the copper from the fridge, and there's something, the back of it is just something like a cushion, so those one will bend them. And there's a cable that we normally get from the computer and this. But when we brought them from our scrapyard, we don't have anything to do but rather to bend it.
He's one of the focal persons of a lead researcher of Zoomlion, Dr. George Roxon, who says e-waste is a double-edged sword.
E-waste equipment, if he bends that material, he's going to recover the gold from it, and that he's able to sell. Or he's going to recover aluminium from it, he's able to sell. He's going to recover copper from it, he's able to sell. Definitely, they are businessmen in their own right. They look at the sustenance, what gives them more value. Is the value having a long-term employment, which gives them higher value, and having to know that they are improving their skill. And companies such as Zoomlion is already working with some of the people from Agbogbroshi through our research program to integrate them into our e-waste project.
It is to minimize the dangers and uphold the advantages of e-waste. That is why Zoomlion is geared up to collect e-waste and process them. Cheap second-hand electronic imports are soon to be downgraded to waste. Europe, where the bulk of the items come from, are beginning to make commitments. Germany made a financial commitment of 15 million euros towards the management of e-waste in Ghana. In May 2017, Government of Ghana also gave the strongest commitment yet in this specific area, announcing it was prepared to buy out from scrap dealers and hand over to recycling firms. Currently, Ghana is a fringe processor of e-waste. It is believed the entry of other players, including Zoomlion, to the field will curtail the export of Ghana's e-waste for them to be treated locally and to create jobs. The Accra Compost and Recycling Plant processes 600 tons of solid waste into compost and other materials per day. The environmental sanitation park created by the company in Ghana's second capital, Kumasi, has same capacity and purpose. Here, mechanical and manual segregation of waste take place. The plants produce grade A compost for agricultural farms. Waste without value ends in landfill. Activities which fall under the Zoomlion integrated waste management cycle. Dredging is one of them. Environmental conditions which have necessitated this approach have been an albatross on the neck of the nation. The Kole Lagoon Ecological Restoration Project. It straddles the heavily polluted water course between Odo and Kolegono in the heart of Accra. Among other interventions, in 2012, the government of Ghana, with support of the Conti Group of the US, earmarked $200 million for the silting of the drain and general beautification of the project site. The situation is gradually improving thanks to Zoomlion's dredge masters. In Zoomlion operations, women are not consigned to rigid prototype roles but are encouraged to pry male-dominated areas. The women deliberately trained by Zoomlion to operate heavy-duty equipment are called Zoom captains. Soil services have modules which plant trees to reforest dwindling vegetation. Others ensure safety on the Volta Lake. In other services outside of the integrated waste management cycle, Zoomlion ran a disease control program, spraying and disinfecting breeding grounds of disease vectors to contain malaria and onchocerciasis or river blindness. Executive Chairman of Jospong Group of Companies, featuring the lineup is Dr. Joseph Japan. He's the face of Zoomlion, often in tuxedo, to receive awards on the big stage in the name of the company. But then, he finds time to put his shoulders to the wheel when it comes to the grind.
By the intervention of Zoomlion, seriously working, all the places that are with refuse have been cleared.
The dramatic success that makes up the Zoomlion legend is as a result of a major commitment of time and attention to the task on hand. It is a case where 1 + 1 does not make 2, but 5 or 7, a combination which is the best of all possible worlds.